Okay, this is a new what if, and it's going to be what if Naruto was full Uzumaki. Unlike my other what if, this one's going to focus more on like politics and stuff. It's not going to be all politics because it's obviously, about Naruto, but it's going to have more like, the Clan Restoration Act and all of that jazz. So, if you don't like that kind of stuff, then you've been warned. But anyway, we're starting off the story just like how in canon, but rather than Minato being a Namikaze, he's going to be an Uzumaki. He's still considered the Flash of the Leaf, but rather than the yellow Flash, he's called the red blur of the Leaf. Because I'm weird. And it sounds more better. And it sounds better than the red Flash of the Leaf. Just, But, so, yeah, I'm gonna say Naruto gets the full Nine Tails because he's full Uzumaki, and Minato's reasoning was that he didn't have enough chakra to seal the entire Nine Tails inside of Naruto, so him being an Uzumaki rather than a Namikaze would give him that extra amount of chakra, considering they are very, very, very well known for their enhanced chakra. Like, they had humongous chakra reserves next to the Uchiha. Like, compared to the Uchiha, theirs was, like, average to be double the Uchiha's. So, like, it's kind of insane. So, just like in canon, Naruto is just born. He gets the Nine Tails sealed inside of him, but it's the full, not the half. And then Kushina and Minato die. Now, I'm going to say that he is, taken care of by the Hokage until he reaches a certain age. Then he starts living on his own, just like in canon. He still goes to the ramen shop all the time. And we're just going to start off this story when he turns about 6. At about 6, Naruto's just walking down the street to the Hokage's office because the Hokage asked him to come down. And Naruto, obviously being like, yeah, it was the Hokage, I'm gonna listen to him, went down to the Hokage's office, and, he's a 6-year-old, so he's not expecting much. But then he gets something completely unexpected, and he is offered training by a private instructor. Now, Naruto's going to be a lot smarter than in canon with this, but I'm going to say he decides to hold off on the personal trainer until he's a genin. So, a couple more years go by, he's doing the same as in the academy. He is a little bit smarter, but he still has the massive problem of he has too much chakra to use the standard cloning technique, which was his problem in canon, and now he's going to have even more chakra because, him being a full Uzumaki rather than a half-breed will give him a great deal more chakra than he has in canon. So he still has too much chakra to put in to use the clone jutsu. So he starts off by just being like, whatever. And it's like the whole graduation day, blah, 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 that all happens like in canon. And then Naruto becomes the only kid in class that didn't pass. Everyone's looking down on him, blah, 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 because he's the demon of the village, blah, blah. Everyone hates him. And then he was tricked by Mizuki to go steal the Scroll of Ceilings. Naruto, knowing that this is probably a bad idea, just said, if I return it before anyone notices, no one will care. So he ran out into the forest with the Scroll of Ceilings, and he just, learned how to use the Shadow Clone Jutsu, and he found some more on the scroll. Now, here's where it gets interesting. He found the Reaper Death Seal, the 8 trigram sealing style, which are both sealing jutsu, which are what the Uzumaki excel in, which is why I'm giving them him. And he found something that he didn't expect to be written on here, because he had been told about it by the only other person who knew he was the son of, Kushina and Minato, who was the third Hokage. The third Hokage told him that his clan had a Kekkei Genkai, but it had been lost because of his clan's near extinction. So Hiruzen had told him about the Uzumaki cursed chains, which are just, the Uzumaki's golden chains made of chakra. They can be used to seal things away, they can be used as weapons in battle, and their main and probably best use is to put barriers up around whatever they're surrounded by. So that's how Kushina kept Hiruzen out while Minato performed the Reaper Death Seal and all that. So, it's just a really cool technique. But he finds that on the Scroll of Ceilings, and he's, really confused because he was like, what? This is on here? It doesn't make sense. Why would the Scroll of Ceilings have this? It's not, that dangerous. But he decides to be like, yeah, whatever. I'll just write it down. So he writes it down on a scroll, because he had brought a scroll along with him. And he's just going through all of these jutsu, and he finds a good one that's just meant for base attacking, and he just writes it down. And it is called the air bullet. It's just the standard air bullet technique, the one Danzo uses in the series. It is not really good for, just straight up, I'm gonna use this to, kill you. No, it's meant for, as a secondary, branch-off attack, but then you learn that Danzo could use it in a much better way by, cutting people to shreds with it. So he learned that, which it was put on the Scroll of Ceilings because it was a higher technique rather than the normal bullet jutsu. It was more of, you shot one bullet that shattered into a ton, and it used a lot of chakra, similar to the Shadow Clone technique. It's killed people from chakra deprivation. That's why it was put on there with the Reaper Death Seal and all that. So Naruto then closed up the Scroll of Ceilings, closed up his scroll, and actually sealed it away because he had a natural sealing technique in the form of the Uzumaki symbol put on his hand. He has the Uzumaki symbol, which is the red Uzumaki symbol, but it's more of a carved into his hand, from his birth. And I'm just gonna say this was a pocket dimension, kind of like Kamui, where he could just store things. He couldn't use it to be intangible like Obito used his pocket dimension, but he can use it to teleport in a way. So he kind of starts walking back, and that's when Mizuki shows up being like, oh, you're the nine-tailed demon, blah blah, throws a shuriken at him. But unlike in canon, where he cowered in fear and almost killed Iruka, he jumped up and grabbed the shuriken out of midair. Naruto knew how to do this because he was born a full Uzumaki, and the Uzumaki have natural fighting skill, and they have a whole lot of physical strength. The head of the Uzumaki clan in canon, that old man with white hair who was said to be in his 80s, I believe he was said to be. Yeah, he was capable of bench pressing over 2,000 pounds. That's more than Sakura can lift. So it's just not gonna happen. But he jumped up, grabbed the shuriken out of midair, and flung it right back at Mizuki, and it lobbed Mizuki's arm off completely. And then Naruto made 10,000 shadow clones, just like in canon, beat the ever-loving shit out of Mizuki, and just hauled him off over his shoulder to the Hokage's office with the scroll in his other arm. He got to the Hokage's office without anyone noticing him, because, Naruto was capable of moving faster than your eye could see at 12 years old in the normal story. So now that he's even, he's more powerful just based on his genetics, he's just gonna be, he's just gonna get there faster than anything. So he just, has Mizuki over his arm and the Scroll of Ceilings under his arm, and he gets to the Hokage's office, and he gives them both to the Hokage, saying, oh yeah, this is Mizuki-sensei, he stole the Scroll of Ceilings, and I went out and found it. And I actually studied a jutsu from it, but, let's keep that on the down low. So Hiruzen being very understandable, because he's, the third Hokage, he took care of Naruto for most of his life, and, he was very reasonable. Not, super reasonable, because he kind of left Naruto in an apartment for, I think it was, 12 years? Like, yeah, he's like 16 in Shippuden, so like, yeah, like 12 years. He was like 3 when he was living on his own with his own like allowance and stuff. So like, you know, but yeah. So Naruto just kind of gave him back the scroll, and Hiruzen said, "Yeah, it's fine that you like learned a jutsu from it, but like, please, blah blah blah, don't do anything too rough." And then Hiruzen gave him a headband stating that he was an official ninja, and like, you know, Iruka actually never seen this because Naruto was being very very sly about how he had like stole the scroll. No one even noticed it was gone before he found it. Before like he like found it, air quotes, because like he never found it. He like stole it and then brought it back. But yeah. So next day he goes to school. Blah blah blah. The whole Shikamaru being like, "You're not a ninja," and Naruto being like, "Oh yeah, fuck you. I have a headband. Fuck you." And then he's going off being like, "Oh yeah, I am actually awesome because yeah, screw you guys. Like I'm actually a lot better than you thought." Because he like used to fake being bad at stuff, like throwing shuriken. He was better than Sasuke. Fighting, he was better than Sasuke, but he always just hid that because he didn't want to draw attention to himself. Because he was kind of that kid who stayed to himself and tried to avoid people. He wasn't like that loud, obnoxious person like in canon. He is still very loud and pretty annoying, but he wasn't. He was more reserved than in canon. So rather than being like, "I'm gonna be the Hokage," believe it, he's more like, "Yeah, I just want to be a really strong ninja. Maybe become Hokage if I ever become like that's good." But like, yeah. So teams are set up, you know, Team 7, blah blah blah, Naruto, Sakura, Sasuke. Naruto doesn't like Sakura on this. He likes Hinata just from the get-go because he actually knew that Hinata used to watch him train, because a lot of Uzumaki are actually sensory ninjas. Take Karin and a few more Uzumakis, like Nagato was confirmed to be a sensory ninja, mainly because of his Rinnegan, but like, yeah, but like a bunch of the Uzumaki clan are sensory ninja, so he kind of sensed that she was there just subconsciously, and he kind of grew attached to her because like everyone else seen him as a demon, she like liked him, and so he was just like right confused about that. So like everyone's teams came and got them, and then Kakashi was fashionably late. Naruto being like, "Oh yeah, no, I'm sick of this." He set up a tiny trap. So rather than like how in canon an eraser fell and hit Kakashi in the head, a slingshot slung a couple of like 2 or 3 kunai at him. So Kakashi being like, "Oh shit," just like grabbed them out of midair because, you know, it's Kakashi. He can friggin' like, he's just way too skilled. But yeah, he just kind of grabbed all 3 kunai out of midair and said, "Who set this up?" Naruto walked up and said, "That's my kunai. Yeah, sorry, you were being way too late." And he put them away in his pouch. They went up to the roof, and like Naruto, like Sakura and Sasuke's were like the same. Like, yeah, I like looks at Sasuke, whatever, and I dislike looks at Naruto. And then Sasuke was like, "I like very few things, and my wants and my dreams for the future are to kill a certain someone and restore my clan." Blah blah. Naruto being like, "Okay, Edgy McEdgerson," was like, "Well, my name's Naruto Uzumaki. My dreams for the future are to be a strong ninja, and I want to blah, and my likes are ramen and eating and sleeping. My dislikes are annoying loud people and like you know, basically very standard stuff for a more calm kind of Naruto." Kakashi does the whole like, "Okay, meet me at Training Ground 7 tomorrow, blah blah, and don't eat lunch, don't eat breakfast or you'll puke." Naruto, knowing that this is a bunch of bullshit, just was like, whatever, and they all went home. That night, Naruto started studying up on the 8 trigram ceiling style and a bunch of other ones that he had written down, and he ended up like seeing his Kekkei Genkai, the Uzumaki chains, and he like, so basically, rather than like just writing it out by hand, he kind of like printed it out using a jutsu, using like his hands, like like his hands dimension pocket jutsu thing. It was like it's like kind of like a scanner as well. It's just gonna be like a cool kind of sealing technique that he can use to teleport later on. But he came across the Uzumaki chains, which are a Kekkei Genkai of the Uzumaki clan, and he basically studied that all night, using shadow clones to do it, because like on the scroll of ceilings it tells you, oh yeah, shadow clones are able to give you their memories. So he went out into the forest and trained with a bunch of shadow clones, and he actually left 5 shadow clones off in the corner and told them to go take a nap, so that when he was like getting tired, he'd just dispel one of those clones and then he'd be right awake again. So then he left like 5 clones off in the corner, and he just trained all night. And then like in the morning, a lot of his clones were starting to get them right out of their back, so he like dispelled them, got all the knowledge, and he got like the chains out, and he set up a kind of like a little like ceiling area, and he threw a kunai at the little chains, and the kunai like bounced off because he made a barrier. Naruto, being like, this is going to be very useful, decided to try doing it again, but this time making the chains out of his hands. He ended up making a tiny little bit of the chain come out of his hands, and he like spun it around kind of like if it was a weapon, because like the end of the chains do have a massive spear on them, so he could use them as a weapon. But he just kind of like put them away because they like kind of just absorb into his skin. That's how the Uzumaki chains work. They're weird. But and then he goes home, he eats, and he actually splashes some cold water on his face so that he feels more refreshed. And he leaves a shadow clone to take a nap for him. And that is when the like whole, he's like, oh crap, I'm gonna be late. So he just grabs a cup of instant ramen, heats it up, eats it on his way down there, and throws it in the garbage before he gets to the meetup. He gets there, and Sakura's really annoyed, being like, hey Naruto, why are you so late, blah blah blah, like her being her grouchy banshee ass as in canon. And then Naruto, obviously being a little annoyed at this, just kind of ignored her. And he went up to Sasuke and said, hey, I know you have your Sharingan already. Like, Sasuke being confused because he didn't unlock the Sharingan yet, Naruto went to punch him in the face, and that's when his Sharingan activated, and he like grabbed Naruto's fist, and he said, "Ha, I was right." And he was like, "Wait, what?" And Naruto took off his headband and showed Sasuke, using his headband as a little mirror, and he was like, "Oh crap, my Sharingan are active. What the hell? Like, when did that happen?" Naruto knew that he had his Sharingan already because one day when they were doing the little skirmishes during class, his Sharingan activated for a quick second, and Naruto noticed. So, him obviously being like, oh, he's got the Sharingan already, but he doesn't know how to use it, him just was like, okay, yeah. So, your Genjutsu is not Genjutsu, your Dojutsu is active. You can use it whenever you want. Just channel chakra into your eyes. Because Naruto was a lot smarter in this. He studied up on, like, Dojutsu and, like, Ninjutsu and all that. So, he was actually very well-rounded as a ninja. And he's actually kind of, like, he was runner-up for Rookie of the Year. He was, like, rather than him in the canon series being dead last in class, he was actually, like, number 2 right next to Sasuke being number 1. So, Sasuke was a lot less, like, confused, because he was like, oh, he's pretty good. I mean, like, I've almost lost to him, like, several times, so it makes sense. Naruto still did, like, fake being bad at some stuff, like throwing shuriken, or, like, you know, fairly standard stuff. But after a minute, he just quickly they just like quickly had a quick conversation, and that's when Kakashi showed up with his whole, oh, I was like helping an old lady or some stupid excuse like that, like in canon, and they were like, oh yeah, that, and like all 3 of them were like, yeah, that's bullshit. But he took them out to Training Ground 7, the whole bell test, and Naruto, actually not being an idiot, was like, hey, we gotta work together. So before the bell test started, he whispered in Sasuke's ear, being like, hey, this is a teamwork exercise. Me and you grab the bells, booyah. And so, obviously, Obviously Sasuke, being more of a lone wolf, was like whatever, but he was like, he agreed because he knew that, yeah, this is a Jonin, we're Genins, so like we're not gonna match up. So Naruto gives him a bit of advice before they start going, and he says that he's gonna hang back and use a far range jutsu that might be able to help. Obviously, him not knowing that Naruto had other jutsu was just like, okay, just leave me to do all the work. And that is when Kakashi said start, and Sasuke ran at Kakashi just right up front. Kakashi being a little confused because, like, hey, you're supposed to be the smart one out of this trio. Like, why are you running directly at me? He just didn't care. He got into a quick little taijutsu thing, like lesson 1, taijutsu. And he was just, like, blocking all of Sasuke's things, and then Sasuke, like, touched one of the bells, and then like he shot off a fireball while he was in midair. Like Kakashi like threw him back and like and then he shot off a fireball at Kakashi. Kakashi just being like, oh, I'm gonna dodge it. He jumped up into the air and he smacked his head off of something. Obviously, Naruto had set up his Uzumaki chains barrier, making it so like, you know, Kakashi hit his head off the barrier. So he fell back down and got smacked right in the face by the fire. So Naruto just walked up to the barrier, like opened a small hole in it and got in. He then used the Uzumaki chains and made them come out of his hands, and then he like used one to wrap Kakashi up and hold his hands together so that he couldn't use jutsu to get out. Obviously, Kakashi being really confused and why he couldn't use his chakra, because the chakra chains actually sap away chakra. They actually pull it out of people. Kakashi, obviously being very, very confused, was like, what the hell? Naruto grabbed both bells and threw one to Sasuke, and we're like, ha, we win. Sakura, having witnessed the whole thing, was like, what the hell? Like, Naruto made that thing? What the hell? But Sasuke, he was so beautiful. Like, blah, blah, Sasuke this, Sasuke that. You know, fairly standard stuff. Now, a lot more people in Naruto's class liked him. Like, all the nameless people that was never, like, actually introduced still hated him. But, like, Shikamaru, Choji, they liked him just like in canon. But, like, Sasuke kind of grew, like, a friendship with him. Ino actually kind of had a crush on him. And, like, Hinata still, like, pined over the dude, like incredibly so. So, like, a bunch of, like, yada yada stuff went on. And that is, but anyway, back to the, like, where we are. Kakashi being like, oh shit, you guys actually got both bells away from me. That is incredible. He yelled out, hey Sakura, time to be locked up. Like, not locked up, like tied down to the post. So Sakura came out like, oh, come on, man. And her being annoyed because she didn't want to be tied up. She, you know, being like, ugh, sitting there kind of hungry. And then Naruto and Sasuke both were like, here, gave her some food. And that is when, you know, the whole problem with Naruto, like, the whole, like, Kakashi showing up like, you pass. And then, you know, the whole blah, blah, blah. It was about teamwork, and those two did it, you didn't help, but, you know, like, these two being able to get it away from me, you not helping was just you thinking that you were able to do it, I guess, like, but, yeah, no. Sakura was still on the team, and then they immediately got put into some D-rank missions, blah, 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 the whole, them, like, chasing cats around the village, or, you know, like, watering someone's flowers. Those are, like, D-rank missions. But then they were like, Sasuke and Naruto were both like, yeah, no, this is boring. Let's get a C-rank mission at bare minimum to blow off some steam, because this is really annoying. Naruto and Sasuke were like, let's get a C rank mission. Kakashi was like, yeah, sure, why not? Like, he vouched for them, being like, yeah. The Hokage being like, yeah, they've already done like 40 D rank missions, so like, I don't care. Shit. So they were like given the whole test. They were not the test. They were given the whole like Land of Waves mission. Like you have to get this guy to you have to get this bridge builder to the Land of Waves for him to finish a bridge, and you have to protect him from like bandits and stuff. Obviously, the whole him being drunk and stumbling in, being like, these three are gonna protect me, blah blah, like happened just like in canon. Naruto didn't like do the whole like being a dickhead thing, but he did kind of scare him off by like flashing some of his chakra. So just like how in like Dragon Ball Z and that, like they can flash their ki powering up and it actually adds pressure to the air. So he just kind of flashed some of his chakra out and was like, yeah, you might want to shut up now. And literally everyone, even the Hokage, were like stone cold. Like they were like, what the fuck? This kid is way too strong. He is like 12 and he is like terrifying the Hokage. Like, what the hell, man? So the Hokage, being like, the whole leader of the village and shit, was like, yeah, just don't kill the guy you're supposed to protect, and you can be on your way. So they waited till the next morning, and then they went off, and then, the whole them started walking down, and that's when they seen a puddle. Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura didn't notice. Naruto is smarter in this, but he still didn't notice because, Sasuke didn't notice in canon, so I'm gonna just say he's, like, around the same intelligence as Sasuke, but he does more studying about, like, jutsu and stuff. Kakashi fakes his death, and then Sasuke pins them both to a tree. Like, Sasuke goes to pin them both to a tree, just like in canon, but, he misses his shuriken shot because he's nervous. Naruto then uses his chakra chains to, like, pin them both to a tree and saps away their chakra so they can't do anything anymore. And that's when he was like, come out, Kakashi, I can sense you. Kakashi came out and was like, okay, good job. And that's when he interrogated them. That's when he found out that Zabuza was going to be up pretty soon. And he was like, yeah, we're going to have to be like, yeah, you're going to have to up the pay. Obviously, Tasuno was like, yeah, we can't because, like, everyone in my village is a broke bitch. So Naruto being like, well, that's sad. Like, even for Konoha, like, at least like, I was treated like dirt, but at least I got an allowance every month. Like, to eat and shit. These guys are starving. They have to fish for food. What the fuck? Like, fairly standard reactions. But, yeah, so they kept going, and then this is where I'm going to leave it off. The Zabuza fight is going to be literally like first thing the next video, and I'm going to get more into like the CRK, like the Clan Restoration Act, so like the CRA and stuff later on, probably in either the next part or the part after. And yeah, this has just been awesome. So whoever you are, boy, girl, non-binary, have a wonderful life, and try to be positive. It can help. Anyway, bye, you fellow weebs.